Okay. Story devices. You ready? These are the techniques that writers use to make a story more interesting. Guys, it is boring if you don't have at least some of these things in a story, okay? So it's the techniques that writers use to make a story more interesting and to enhance the experience for the reader. The first one is foreshadowing. Does anybody know what foreshadowing is? Have you ever watched like murder mystery movies? Or read a murder mystery book?
Yeah.
And they give you clues as to what's going to happen? Foreshadowing is the author's way of giving you hints or clues about what's going to happen next, okay? A lot of times you miss them. If you only read a book one time, a lot of times you miss it the first read because you're like, eh. And then all of a sudden something happens and you're going, are you kidding me? He said back in chapter 5 that blah, blah, blah. I should have saw that coming. She was the killer. Oh my, well, he gave me this clue and this clue. Yep, I missed it. Maybe being a detective is not in my line of work. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
I watched this movie on Netflix last night, and it's based on a true story. And I didn't think that. So this lady has a husband, and they have 2 kids. And
Oh, okay. Let her tell the story.
And they just have another kid, and she made a video on Facebook. She was like, "Oh, her husband was there. He was acting excited, and then he killed her and the kids."
Yep. So, hey, foreshadowing. What red flags could we have seen in a story that would have told us what was happening? That is foreshadowing. So, foreshadowing, hints or clues that suggest, friends, what may happen later in the story. Absolutely, you can have this in Diary of a Wimpy Kid. There's lots of foreshadowing in Diary of a Wimpy Kid about what's going to happen next. In the story. Something else an author uses is flashbacks. So sometimes we have to have a little bit of backstory to understand what's happening in the present, okay? For instance, there's a show I watched where the woman was a nurse in World War II. And now she's experiencing a whole nother set of issues. Well, some of those issues are absolutely reminders of what happened when she was in combat. She was a combat nurse in World War II. But I don't understand her thoughts and feelings on what's happening unless they give me that flashback. They do it in the books because it's a set of books, but then it's also a show. They do it in the books where all of a sudden you see this, and then you see the writing become italicized. That's the slanted letters. And so I know something's going on. Usually when the letters are italicized, we're either in somebody's thoughts or we're in the middle of a flashback, okay? For her, it's flashbacks. And so you flash back to what happened when she was in combat, and then it comes back to present day, and oh, suddenly her actions make sense. They have to give me that flashback, the background information, in order for things to make sense, okay? So a flashback is interrupting the plot of the story to recreate an incident of earlier time. So, interrupting the plot of the story to recreate an incident of earlier time. Yes, ma'am.
You have to, right? You have to put like an italics. You need to say, like, as this happened, she was reminded of when she was young. Like that happened.
So when it says she was reminded of when she was younger, when blah 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 happened, it's not so much a flashback as it is they're just telling you of a memory. A flashback is when they actually take you back and you're reading it as though it's happening right then. Okay?
So if you were to read it, would you put it as like, would you put the words as it happened, and then it, like, would you change the words, make it feel as if you're there in the moment? Or would you make it as if you were telling a story that happened beforehand?
You would put it as though you're in the moment. All right. Another story device that authors use are cliffhangers. This is, yep, it's raining. This is to make you want to keep reading, okay? Cliffhangers typically happen at the end of a chapter or at the end of a book that's part of a series, okay? So we're in the story and our favorite character walks into the room and there is someone standing in the shadows. Bam, end of chapter. What's going to happen?
No, you don't give me very long response.
Suddenly, I'm still up at 2 o'clock in the morning reading this book because I need to know what happens next. Okay? That's how an author keeps you coming back for more. There's an author that I really like. She typically writes books that it's 2 or 3 books together. Okay? It's about one group of people, but there's 2 or 3 books together. The end of the first book always leaves me wondering what's going on. And I get so upset because it's usually like 3 or 4 months before the next book gets released. And then the second book, she leaves me hanging again. And then it's 3 or 4 months before the next book gets released. But guess what happens each time?
Okay.
As soon as I see that the next book is available for pre-order, guess what I do? I pre-order it. She leaves me hanging, which guarantees I'm going to keep coming back. Okay? That is the purpose of a cliffhanger, to keep you wanting more. Okay? Yes, Dylan.
On Outer Banks, at the very end of the episode, it's like where they get about the boat flip and they're getting them.
Yep, that's a cliffhanger. They use it. They do it in TV shows all the time. The Walking Dead. Any of you ever watched The Walking Dead? Okay, so the season where it ends with Negan having them all kneeling around him, and he's got Lucille, and you know that he kills somebody, but you don't know who. Can I just tell you that from the time that season ended and the next one started, I examined every tree. I examined every camera angle. I needed to know who it was that he had killed. Like, straight up, I obsessed over it. Okay? That's a cliffhanger. That's how they made sure when the season premiere happened, they got good viewing. Right?
The real one, Tails came out.
You watched that?
I did.
Hey, don't be hating on the Sonic movie. I watched it.
Yeah.
Yes, Alexis.
So no, I put at the end, happens after, or do they?
There you go. There you go. All right, so cliffhanger, an ending to a section, chapter, or book that leaves the reader in suspense. Last one, suspense. Suspense is the anxiety a reader feels about what may happen next in a story. Guys, when you're reading and you feel that creep up your neck and you're like, oh my God, I have to know. I have to know. I have to know what's going to happen. Oh my gosh, I have to keep going. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I want to read ahead, but I don't want to read ahead because I don't want to miss anything. But oh my goodness, I need to know what happens. This author's got to get it together now. That's suspense. Me, I do that. Okay? Suspense is what the author uses to keep you reading. I have to know what's going to happen. And usually, the most suspenseful moment is when they leave you with a cliffhanger. Okay? All of these story devices work together to keep you coming back for more. All right? So, a suspense. The anxiety. Anxiety. It's a feeling of, oh, how do you spell it? I thought you asked what it was. Anxiety. The anxiety a reader feels about what may happen next in a story. Yes, Noah.
Can there be a foreshadow?
They can absolutely use foreshadowing in a flashback. Absolutely. I can see a flashback and see something that's happened to this person before that can foreshadow what's going to happen to them again. Absolutely. They can mix and match all of these. And it makes the story interesting. Without these story devices, it's not going to be a very enticing story to read. Okay?